Okay, so first we'll actually take a look at this 5-out motion offense. Now, what we want to enforce here in this motion offense is to never stand still, right? We're talking to our youth teams about never standing in one particular spot. We always want to get moving, right? We're also going to be looking at a lot of passing cuts here, a lot of down screens. We just want the athletes to get moving and fill a particular spot. So obviously with the 5-out, we want to fill 5 spots on the basketball floor, and we want to keep things very spacious for the players, right? Especially if we're talking about youth basketball teams. So we want to try to get everybody outside the 3-point line in their own spot. Now, right here we have the numbers 4, 3, 1, 2, 5. The numbers don't really matter too much, right? That's the whole point of this 5-out offense, is that we want to enforce positionless basketball. So step one with the 5-out motion offense, we need to get some sort of movement, right? What can we get going? So there's a few options. One, we can do some sort of cut, or two, we can get a down screen going. So what I like to do with my teams, I like to give my teams the freedom to choose. As long as you do something, either one of those movements, that's fine. Right. So obviously, let's start with our cutting situation first. So we can look at getting a little V cut going inside the key and out to get open. That's an easy solution. We can also, look to cut to the basket, right? And if we don't receive that pass, we're going to continue cutting and fill a different spot. That's another option that we can do as well. Those are two kind of easy cuts that we can do to get open. Additionally, we can look at screening, like I mentioned, right? So we can go down screen for somebody else to come up and get open, right? So these two players, number 3 and number 2, the players that are closest to the basketball, you need to get some sort of movement going, whether that's a cut or a screen, we need to move. Okay, so for the sake of this, let's say we get some sort of cut, maybe a little V cut into the key and out to get open, right? Number 3 is doing the same thing. Okay, so let's say number 1, to keep it on the right side of the floor, gets number 2 open. Okay, so the ball goes to number 2. Well, now it's on number 1. Number 1 just got rid of the basketball. Now it's on them to initiate some sort of movement. So what we want to enforce is a cut to the basket or a screen away. Same type of thing, screen or cut. Now, number 1 option that we want to look for, though, is a cut. So let's talk about that one first. So number 1 is going to cut and look for the basket. What we like to enforce with our youth players is to get a foot on the key, right? At least 1 foot on the key so we can cut to the basket. We're going to continue cutting, right? If we can get the ball into number 1 for a little give and go, that would be great. A little pass and cut, feed it off to number 1. But for the sake of a motion offense, let's say that doesn't happen, right? So number 1 is going to cut and look for the basketball. They didn't get the basketball, so they're going to fill the far side. That means everybody then has to move up a spot, right? We move up a spot. Now the ball, number 3, is going to reset the basketball. And now we're in the exact same situation. We need to get a pass or a cut. So let's say right now we're in that new situation. Maybe this time we're going to screen. So in this situation, we're going to get number 4 and number 2 to go down screen, for the players closest to the baseline. And those players are going to come up and receive the basketball. So now we're in that 5-out again, but everybody has just moved positions. We won't get these players so high. Right now, what we always try to enforce is, as well as swing the basketball to the other side of the floor. So let's get the ball on the other side of the floor. But now the same situation happens. We need to cut to look for that basketball. So everybody is going to fill a spot. Right, everybody's going to fill a spot. Now we're reset again. All right, let's get the ball up top. We're back into our 5-out. So what we really want to look for here is, we never want to stand still in one particular spot, especially once we get rid of the basketball, right? When we pass the basketball to somebody else, we need to get the ball out of our hands, right? That's what we are enforcing here with our players, is never keep the basketball in your hands, right? So let's kind of run through this now a little bit quicker. All right, we need to make sure we're not standing still. So we need a V cut, we need something, a cut to the basket, we need something to get the ball. Right, so let's say we get a little quick cut right here. Number 2 is doing the same thing and move the ball to one side of the floor. Number 5 is looking for that pass. If they don't get it, everybody's filling up a spot. Right, what we want to do right here then is now swing the basketball, right? So if we can find a way to get, maybe number 3 is open, we can just swing it on to them. But if not, we need to find a way to get somebody else open. Again, we either V cut or we down screen. Let's say in this situation, we down screen, right? We down screen, and we swing that basketball. Right now, same thing. We're going to cut to the ball. We're going to look for it. And let's say maybe in this situation, we get the basketball, right? And we get that pass on the cut and we get a wide open layup. Right. So, what I'll do with you teams here is we will run this continuously without scoring the basketball. So, say I have a team of 10 players. I'll put 5 players on one half of the floor, 5 players on the other half of the floor, and they will continuously be running this 5-out motion offense. Right. Then maybe say after about 2 minutes, I will blow the whistle. And when I blow the whistle, that basically means that when we cut off of that pass, we will then pass the ball back to the cutter, and the cutter can then finish for a layup, right? So we don't want to always, give it back to the cutter when we do this, when we run this 5-out offense in practice without a defense there. We want to get these athletes moving and working on the continuous movement of a 5-out. Again, every now and then we'll blow the whistle. What the whistle means is that you can now score off of that pass. You can give the ball back to the cutter, and then, like I said, we can score the basketball. So, is this a particular play that's going to result in an easy basket, a quick basket? No. What this is 4 players, to learn the spacing of the basketball, how to space on the floor, how to fill a position, right? Because we want to fill one of those 5 spots. But it's also talking about, and it's also enforcing continuous movement, right? We never want to stand still. And when we're talking about youth basketball teams, that's a huge habit that they have, is standing still on the floor, not knowing when or how to move. So this simple, basic 5-out offense, will achieve all of those things and start teaching your athletes the basic things that they need to learn how to play in an offensive system. All right, folks, I need to quickly stop right there before we move into our next topic to mention that right now, 97.1% of our daily viewers are not subscribed to our channel. So that means if you are one of these people, if you are one of these 97.1% who are not currently subscribed but are watching this video, it would be greatly appreciated if you could take the time real quick to hit that subscribe button. It will help us continue to make content like this, continue to make basketball plays for other coaches, basketball drills for other players, and basketball, everything that both players and coaches and organizations alike can use. So again, if you could really quickly take the time to hit that subscribe button, it'll just take 2 seconds. It would be greatly appreciated. But moving on to our next topic. Now, before we get to the end of this video, we're going to look at a drill that we can use before teaching our kids the motion offense. We can kind of run this drill a little bit in practice to, basically teach them a step 1. Before we go to step 2, which is teaching the motion offense, we can teach this little drill to kind of get them to understand the movements of a motion offense a little bit more. Now, this drill is named the Spurs drill. And basically what we're going to be looking at in this drill is just teaching the kids how to pass and cut and how to swing the basketball. There's not really going to be much scoring in this play. It's kind of repetitive. It's not the most entertaining play or rather drill, or the most engaging drill, right? This is not something that's going to keep your kids really engaged in practice, but rather something that serves as an introduction to a 5-out motion offense. So I have 2 players of our 5 moved out of bounds for this one because we only need 3 players on the floor. And basically what we're going to do is just teach that pass and cut, right? Teach that V cut to get open, right? So number 2 and number 4, they're going to get open off of a cut. There's going to be no defense here. And we're just going to pass that ball to them and teach our players how to cut and look for the basketball. We're not going to give them the basketball back, but what we are going to teach them is to fill the other side of the floor, and then everybody else fill a spot, right? That's what we're teaching here. Okay, then we're going to teach them to swing the basketball to the other side of the floor, and the same thing goes. We're all going to fill a spot, right? Now we're going to swing the basketball to the other side of the floor. The same thing goes. We're going to cut. We're going to fill a spot, right? So that's all we're basically doing in this drill. We're teaching the kids how to pass and cut, how to fill a new spot. Right, the same rules kind of apply where we can blow the whistle at some point, and when we do that, right, let's get these players moved up a little bit. When we blow the whistle, we can then give it to the cutter. Sorry, moving the basketball here. We can then give it to the cutter for a layup. But other than that, what we're using this drill for is basically to teach the spots, teach the movement, teach the cutting, right? That we will eventually discuss in our 5-out offense. So again, this drill, you don't need to use it, but it's a good introduction to a 5-out offense before we get to that continuous movement offense that we discussed before.